Definitely, there are bases for everybody to do accordingly.
Join us as we bring you the stories that matter. We go beyond the headlines to uncover the real facts and the core of every story.
We are doing this, we are doing that. At the end of the day, nothing good will come out. What did they promise us? They will be in charge of security and life and whatever. But what are we getting in return?
With in-depth analysis and experts' interviews, Hard Facts delivers the truth that others dare not to reveal. Tune into Hard Facts every weekday, 3 to 6 p.m. and arm yourself with the knowledge you need to navigate today's complex world. Hard Facts, where the truth always prevails.
99.3 Nigeria Info.
Let's talk.
Is the nation's #1 talk news and sports radio station, 99.3 Nigeria Info. Talk never ends here because all we do is talk and bring you into the conversation. But most importantly, we inform, educate you, and sometimes a bit of entertainment here and there. But most importantly, you're here to be informed so that you know your rights, your responsibility, and the role that you play as a Nigerian. So it's not enough to say, well, we've got government officials, we put them there and they've got a lot to do, so they do it. If they don't do it, then we scream. No, you also need to know what your job is as a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And today we're talking about tax reforms. Yes, the last time I had Mr. Onasami here in the studio with me, we were talking about tax. Every time we talk about tax, I bring him into the studio. Emmanuel Onasami is now my very good friend. I discovered him and then I made him my friend. He is joining us live in the studio this evening as we discuss this tax reform agenda. He is a tax expert. For those of you who know him, he has been there, here and there. He works with PwC. He has even worked with Taiwo Yedile, you know. So if I can't get Taiwo, I can get him. Mr. Emmanuel, so good to have you join in the studio. Happy New Year once again.
Thank you very much, Maryann.
A lot of us were hoping that we'll start this year on a very good note, you know, and not have any price hike. But then the telecommunications guys are saying, you mean? You say? But let's talk about the tax reform agenda. Before the year ended, it didn't necessarily end on a very good note because we had the northern leaders saying, we don't agree with this tax reform bill. It doesn't in any way favor us. We saw the likes of Senator Ndume, we saw the Bauchi state governor, we saw the Borno state governor, the Nasarawa state governor. They were all very vocal about this. But just recently, we've seen that they seem to have backed the tax reform agenda, but with several caveats, if I might add. Let's start with the fact that they're saying TED fund goes nowhere. Let's start with that. Why do you think that they're harping on the TED fund aspect of, you know, the bill?
Okay, thank you once again. You know, I think holistically, it's for us to look at the body language of the Nigerian Governors Forum. You know, what happened towards the end of last year, we saw the northern elite, you know, rally around to, you know, consolidate their position on the tax reform bills. And I believe they did that and communicated that to their respective governors who have represented their interest at the level of the Nigerian Governors Forum. If you look at the communication that the Nigerian Governors Forums push out there, you know, something is very clear. You know, that the forum of the Nigerian governors, they are not ready to rock the boat that much, you know, and every of their caveats, every of their recommendation kind of suggests that, you know, they don't want to disrupt the system too much, you know, and looking at what they propose from the VAT sharing formula, you know, leaving largely the 50% and just tweaking the derivation and the population.
But you see, the derivation has always been where they have to, if you ask me, the last time I listened to the Nasarawa State Governor, Sule, he harped most importantly on the derivation aspect. But quickly, before we go into this conversation more, I want to play a clip from Human Rights Act activist and lawyer, Falana, and I'm also going to play a clip from the Governors Forum. What they had to say, their position on this, and then we'll come back to this conversation. It's very important that I put this out there because Falana had his own thoughts about this. So did the Nigerian Governors Forum. So did and the NLC is also in the game. ASU is in the game. We're going to get to all of that. But I want to play this clip from Femi Falana and the Governors Forum. I think it was the Kwara State Governor who led the delegation when they spoke on the acceptance of that particular amendment, or what they had put, or the tweaking of the reform bill. So I'm going to play a clip from the Governors Forum first, and then I'll go to Femi Falana. In case you're just joining us, we're live on Facebook and on YouTube, Nigeria Info FM. We're also live on our website, www.nigeriainfo.fm. If you do not have the Nigeria Info mobile app, please download it so you can take us everywhere you go. And we're looking at the tax reform bill. Take a listen to the Governors Forum.
Reform of the Nigerian and tax system, and the conclusions. The forum reiterated its strong support for the comprehensive reform of Nigeria's decaying tax laws. Governors acknowledged the importance of modernizing the tax system to enhance fiscal stability and align with global best practices. Two, the forum includes a diverse value-added tax sharing formula to ensure equitable distribution of resources as follows: 50% based on equality, 30% based on collaboration, and 20% based on cooperation. Number three, governments also agreed that there should be no increase in VAT rate from 7.5% currently, or reduction in corporate income tax from the current 30%.
I apologize for the audio. It's not very clear, unfortunately. But let's go to Femi Falana when he spoke about this tax reform agenda.
Is how to earmark the revenue that will be collected from the taxes to address crisis in the health sector, in the education sector, infrastructural deficit, and so on and so forth. But we must avoid the situation whereby the removal of fuel subsidy has increased the revenue of the three tiers of government without any improvement in the quality of the life of an average citizen in our country. So we need to ensure that the new taxes, or in the bills are passed into law, the interests of the people must be factored in. Right now, the companies that are in the free economic zone, by law, do not pay taxes, do not pay duties for goods imported to the country by them. That is an area that will have to be addressed. Secondly, it's not enough to increase taxes. We must also address the closure of companies. Because, for instance, last year, according to the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, about 757 companies collapsed. If those companies had not collapsed, they will have continued to pay company taxes. Their workers will be paying income tax. And so when the National Assembly is debating the taxes, we must also address the hostile environment that is forcing companies to close down
So that's Femi Falana making very interesting and salient points. I just wanted to put that out there so that when we're analyzing, we can take into consideration all of these things. So back to you.
True.
He started by, we couldn't get the audio from the governor's forum because it was very bad. But he started by saying that, look, if these tax reforms are not going to be to the benefit of the average person, and plus the fact that subsidy removal has not necessarily in any way helped or bettered our lot. So, of course, why should the average Nigerian be excited about this tax reform? Because every time government tells us something will be for our good, it looks like they're flogging us with a cane and draining our blood.
Yeah. Okay, so I love the position of the
Mr. Falana.
Legal luminary, Mr. Falana himself. And he raised a salient point there. But if you look at, if you've been following the communication from the committee led by Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, and two things came to the front. They are trying to adjust the tax law to reflect our current realities, and also, use it as a fiscal tool instrument to provide ease of living, especially for the masses, according to the communication that they've put out there. And while you said that, sometimes government said they are working for us, but, at the end of the day, when the implementation starts, we don't really get to see the benefits. And I think that is why we have a lot of stakeholders engaging, you understand, starting from the NSC, NLC to HASU to NGF, and even at the level of the organized private sector, because they really want to understand how it's going to affect their employee, and one of the issues that is not even very loud on the table is how it's going to affect the Nigerian middle class. It appears Mr. Taiwo Idele and co are very focused on the very low cadre, but the Nigerian middle class is kind of, disappearing very fast. And if you put...
What are you saying? There is no middle class anymore. What are you saying? It's the rich and the poor. That's what the dichotomy is right now.
Based on statistics, you still have very few left.
I'm poor. I don't know about no middle class.
And if we make it not too comfortable for them at the level, then it becomes very non-existent. If you look at the current proposal, the personal income tax rate, it's just the first 800,000 that is exempted from tax, and if you look at the middle class, there's nobody in that, and you see that the tax rate then increases along the band, which means that, middle class, bracket may suffer more taxes than they've been paying before. If you look at the dynamics of the CRA that has also been modified and all that, so that area, it also needs some stakeholders engagement beyond whatever the governors forum is saying. And if you look at the people that the reform seems to be pushing towards, to say let's make life easy for the very poor. These people are not largely in the tax bracket. You understand? And, if there is no concerted efforts to bring them to the tax bracket, that means nobody is getting the benefit, because the middle class are going to be paying, a bit more, than what they have been paying before, based on the way the numbers are currently looking. And those are some of the conversation around it, to say that, although, the objective is to review the law and make it reflect the current realities that we have, we also have to recognize the times that we found ourselves, and not make life more difficult for our people, which appears to be the stance of the Nigerian governors. Say, let's not rock the boat too much. Things are already very hard.
And we keep, one of the most recurrent factor in their ask has been, we may not be able to pay salaries. Oh, we may not be able to, do this. And so they're pushing for, that whole, in fact, the forum endorsed a revised value of the value-added tax sharing formula to ensure equitable distribution of resources. 50% based on equality. 30% based on derivation, and 20% based on population. But there are those who would also say, hey, this VAT thing, the South is already up in arms saying, how about production? Because you see, when you guys are talking about consumption, you're not talking about production. The oil is taken from right underneath us. And then you guys take everything and give us a meager how many percent in terms of derivation. How about we revisit that? So again, it looks like everybody is trying to talk about restructuring, but nobody wants to talk about restructuring in its entirety.
And let me summarize what the Governors Forum did. They took the whole formula and swapped the numbers between population and derivation. They left the equality, confirming their posture that, look, we know the numbers we are working with and we have planned based on that. Don't come and rock the boat too much for us. And like you rightly said, population and derivation are closely connected.
Yes, they're intertwined.
Because the more your population is, the more likely you people will consume if you have economic power. The challenge with population is that you may have the population, but you don't have the economic power to consume. Which may be the challenge of some region to say, okay, don't take away the equality for now, because although we may have the population, our population may not be able to improve our derivation. You understand? Those calculations are there and interests are moving around. And I think to be fair to the Nigerian Governors Forum, to marry all the interests together is not to rock the boat too much and say, okay, whatever you are getting before, it may not be too different from what you're going to get.
But how long can we also pamper the situation? Because you see, I mentioned the issue of restructuring for a reason. It looks like our politicians only mention restructuring when it suits them, when they want to get votes. And right after they get the votes, nobody really talks about. And then, of course, this whole cap in hand to the FCT every other day, it's getting a bit older because situations are not getting better. I mean, look at where inflation is. It's the highest it's ever been. When are we going to really have that conversation in earnest? And how long are we going to pamper governors? Because every part of this country, whether we like it or not, is blessed in some way. It's down to how smart and how creative the governments can be with the economy to, harness the potentials that every region has. At what point are we going to get to that, to have that discussion?
So I think it's more of a political conversation, than an economic conversation.
Really?
Because
but it does have some economics in it,
the truth
doesn't
is
it?
that, the initial proposal from the tax reform bills wants to, see to it that, there is more fairness in the sharing formula, you understand, especially when it comes to the VAT conversation. And that's why the focus is on derivation, to say how much you are able to consume within your locality should derive how much, should determine how much you get. You understand? As against, just not doing anything. You have the population. As a government, what are you doing with the population to make them, improve your derivation? That conversation means that as a politician, you need to start thinking, what can I do? What investment can I bring in to engage my people and then improve our derivation? If that recommendation sails through, that means it's a positive one that we get our political system to be more beneficial to the people. You understand? But, the way our political system is currently wired, you understand, it may not be the immediate interest of the politicians to go in that direction, but rather just maintain the status quo. So you're answering your question to say when, you understand, when it is only when, you have that political will, especially at the top, because the two most important party to get this done is the executive and the legislative. You understand? If you have enough political will at that, two levels, you may be able to get, that done, But, you also agree with me that these recommendations are pretty disruptive.
Very.
They are pretty disruptive. And then, it means a lot for some region when compared to some region, and I think that is what the stakeholders are carefully looking at so that nobody is worse off as much as possible.
Let's look at the number 4th recommendation. Apart from, I read out number 2. Number 3 says members agreed that there should be no increase in VAT rate or reduction in corporate income tax at this time to maintain economic stability.
More conversation, more talk, more right after this.
We're going to go for a break. We'll be right back.
Hey, Hey, you.
Me?
Yes, you.
Oh.
Dreaming of studying abroad?
Uh-huh.
This is your moment.
Wow.
Join us at the Ames Education Study Fair on February 1st, 2025 at the Sheraton Hotel, Ikeja, GRA, Lagos, starting at 10 a.m. Whether you're planning for an undergraduate or postgraduate degree, this event is for you. Whether you're eyeing the USA, the UK, Canada, European countries, or anywhere in the world, Ames Education is bringing top universities right to you. At the fair, you will get expert advice and learn about amazing scholarships, start dates, and tuition fees. It is your chance to take control of your future. Mark your calendars. February 1st, 2025 at 10 a.m. Sheraton Hotel. You don't want to miss this. Start your global education with Ames Education. See you there.
Mommy, you want to watch YouTube? Not my phone again. Every time YouTube.
Oh, Mommy, you want to watch YouTube?
You want to watch YouTube? Not with my phone. Go and watch TV.
But there's no YouTube on our TV.
That's before. With the new Airtel Smart Router, for just 25,000 naira, you can watch YouTube and more on any TV, even our own TV.
Really? Yay! Thank you, Mommy.
Oh, you're welcome.
Turn any TV into a smart TV with the Airtel Smart Router and watch Nollywood movies, football, and lots more on YouTube with unlimited data for 30 days. Airtel, a reason to imagine.
Success is like a big mansion. You only see the magnificent edifice, not the strong foundation that holds it. Likewise, in the world of e-payments, you only see transactions done and funds remitted. But who pioneered these financial technology solutions? Well, you knew it as Value Card, now Unified Payments, Nigeria's premier financial technology service provider. Yes, it starts here. Find out more at www.up-ng.com.
Unified Payments. Innovations that work for you.
You define better odd. I bet you one play cost over 1.5. I bet you one bet say both seem no go score at all. Oh yeah, we get better payout to one. No worry, we there for you. Our odd chapter out. In a day for bet baba. We win money, bet baba. Cash out today easy or bet baba. We get online games for you to play. Oh God, yeah. We get better bonus. Money me no dano. Welcome to Bet Baba.
Register now on betbaba.ng. Not for people under 18.
When you have bars in the sky, onboard showers, and award-winning in-flight entertainment, it's no surprise that Emirates was recently named the best airline in the world. We fly you to over 140 destinations, and with partners across the globe, we connect you to another 1,700 cities across 6 continents. So when we say we're also the largest international airline, what we really mean is, if you're going there, so are we. Book now on Emirates.com. Fly Emirates. Fly better.
I like calm. It's him be say you like calm. I tell you say he no good for you, but you see they talk say you like calm. My pikin. You know say I go always get your back, but you got shine your eye well, take carry better thing. Like the new Golden Penny soya and vegetable oil where they for brand new packaging.
The new Golden Penny soya oil contains vitamins A, D, and E with omega-3 and 6 and 0 trans fat. They are available for different sizes. Buy your own for retail store where they near you. Golden Penny oil. Eat well, live well.
Anything I want.
Mama, they don't dash me 20,000 naira wolf.
My pikin, who they dash 20,000 naira for this kind time?
That they dash everybody will get smart cash account 20,000 naira.
You mean them go dash me 20,000 naira a wolf too?
Yes, so mama. That they dash all old and new smart cash users 20,000 naira wolf.
Oh yeah, tell your yard people make them dial *939# or download Smart Cash app to open their own account. Make them self-enjoy 20k a wolf. Every time when you buy airtime or pay bills with Smart Cash, you go chop inside your 20k. Terms and conditions they shall.
I don't see my own a wolf.
Smart Cash, powered by Airtel.
Did you miss out on the I Beg to Differ online auditions? This is another opportunity to make history. On Saturday, January the 25th, the I Beg to Differ Secondary School Debate Auditions comes to life at the Nigeria Info Studio, 267A Etim Ian Crescent, Victoria Island, Lagos. Yes, I Beg to Differ Secondary School Debate Auditions hosts the very first outdoor auditions at our studio, right here in Victoria Island on Saturday, January 25th, time 8 a.m. This in-person audition is for secondary school students who missed the deadline of our online entry. If you've already entered the competition online, you don't have to come for the live audition. To register, visit www.nigeriainfo.fm to pick a topic for your live auditions. Click on the I Beg to Differ banner on the homepage. Carefully read the guidelines and choose a topic. Remember the date, Saturday, January 25th, time 8 a.m. Venue is Nigeria Info Studios, 267A Etim Ian Crescent, Victoria Island, Lagos. The debate of your life begins here. I Beg to Differ, the Tournament of Champions.
You are listening to your number one station for talk.
Your number one station for talk.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
All right, we're back. Today we're all about the numbers and getting you involved in, everything, the strategies, the new reforms, whether it be tax, whether it be the Nigeria 2025 budget. We're all interested. But right now we're talking about the new tax reform agenda of the Tinubu administration and those who are yay for it and those who are nay for it. Now, for a long time, the Northern leaders and the Northern Governors Forum, in fact, the whole Governors Forum, were against it. But then all of a sudden, the NGF released a statement saying, oh, here. We're now for it, but here are our demands. This is how it's going to go. Number one, they're saying the forum has reiterated its strong support for the comprehensive reform of Nigeria's archaic tax laws. Members are acknowledging the importance of modernizing tax systems to enhance fiscal stability and align with global best practices. Secondly, they're saying the forum has endorsed a revised value-added tax sharing formula to ensure equitable distribution of resources, which is 50% based on equality, 30% based on derivation, and 20% based on population. Number 3, members agree that there should be no increase in VAT rate or reduction in corporate income tax at this time to maintain economic stability. The forum has also advocated for continued exemption of essential goods and agricultural produce from VAT to safeguard the welfare of citizens and promote agricultural productivity. Number 4, the meeting has recommended that there should be no terminal clause for TET Fund, NASENI, and NITDA in the sharing of development levies for bills. And number 5, the meeting supports the continuation of legislative process at the National Assembly that will culminate in the eventual passage of the tax reform bill. But before we get there, let's talk about this whole agricultural produce, because you see, that's where I'm saying that if we dig deeper, there are those who are also going to say that, hey, if we talk about agricultural produce, let's talk about our oil. So, yes. And then people will also say, but there's gold in Zamfara. Are we going to be sharing? This argument is never going to end, except I'm wrong.
Yeah, so this exemption of essential goods and agricultural produce from VAT, according to the way the new tax reform bill has been designed, the fact that it's exempted from VAT doesn't mean that, the consumption will not contribute to your derivation.
Okay.
There is an adjustment that will be made, for exempted goods, to say that, it's still part of your derivation in that particular state, especially in the northern region that are focused on agricultural produce.
Yeah.
So when people pick their input from you,
Mhm.
despite the fact that they are not paying VAT, it would be accounted as if VAT was received on it, and then use it for the purpose of determining your derivation. Do you understand? And what the Nigerian Governor Forum is simply saying is that, essential goods, like you said, milk, all those basic food items, your body wash, you mentioned the last time, and all those things that people need to have their daily living. Can we further review it, with the possibility of expanding it, to make, life easy for people and not, allow VAT on them, and to be honest, I want to a bit support the position of the Nigerian Governors Forum on not increasing VAT for now,
Why?
And my position is that we are still battling with inflation within the economy. And when you are battling with inflation and you are increasing VAT rates at the same time, it's like you are giving the people too much to bear. You understand? Because inflation ordinarily, increases the value of the VAT you get, even if it is VAT rate is static, over the years, until we are able to achieve some stability with our inflation figures. And I don't think we should be talking about, increasing VAT rate, that's me talking about, VAT, but leaving the company income tax rate like the governors have recommended, like I said, they are taking a very conservative position. They want to be sure of the fund they will be getting.
They'll be getting.
But the conversation around reducing corporate tax rate is a fiscal policy tool, that the government is open, to kind of attract investment into the country. Do you understand? And at the moment, tax rate is 30 plus. The expectation is as we continue to increase it year on year, more investment can come into Nigeria because the corporate tax environment is now favorable for investment. So but
is it favorable? Because that's what Femi Falana was saying. There are companies who have folded up and left this country, and that it's not just corporate tax you would be getting. You would have gotten payee tax, income tax.
Payee tax is not the tax of the business; it's the tax of the employees.
I know, but he's also saying, apart from that, there's several taxes that would have gotten into government coffers, but these businesses have gone. And then we need to not just be taxing because for taxing's sake. We need to consider the conditions that made these companies fold up and leave in the first instance. We can't keep saying we want business to come. What are we doing?
To be fair to the Taiwo Daily Committee, I think that is one of the objectives they are going at. Remember, one of the things they said was that they are trying to collapse over like 60-something tax law into less than 10, I guess, according to them, And in the bid to do that, it's also something that is geared towards improving certainty for anybody bringing their investment into this environment, knowing fully well that, these are the few 10 taxes that you'll be responsible for, whether directly as a business or your employee, you understand, as the case may be. And I strongly believe that the new tax reform bill, we attract investment and possibly, return some of those, business that has exited Nigeria, you understand. And so for me, on the position of the Nigerian Governors Forum on, not reducing the corporate tax rate, I think it may be productive when it comes to attracting the environment. But I think what the governors are just focused on is our revenue. Let's be sure that it's not disrupted that much.
Because the last time I had Taiwo Dele here, when he was just still coming up with these ideas, and when he was just inaugurated, when they had just inaugurated the committee, my bigger question was, I hope this actually is, at the end of the day, to the benefit of the people and not necessarily the government. Because if you're telling me that, the average person is going to pay less taxes, okay. Yeah, I'd rather pay less taxes, but if I'm going to even pay taxes, I want to see a better life.
What the taxes will be used for.
Exactly. But you see, I have people calling me from Ogun State that they're fixing their own roads because the governor is not doing his job. There are people who now are a government to themselves. They provide themselves with power. Now government is even giving people, companies, some autonomy to produce their own light, their own power. But if people are paying taxes and there's no better life, in sight, and again, I go back to harp on this whole issue of subsidy removal. We have not seen anything. Even when the oil benchmark is going down, our fuel prices are going up. How can we really trust government? It's not about Taiwo Uyedele and his committee, his presidential committee now. It's about a trust deficit. How can you get the average Nigerian to trust the process if this process that we're even going through now is not trustworthy?
Yeah, and is that trust quotient that is leading to a lot of
questions all over. Yeah.
All that. And Mr. Femi Falana has mentioned that to say that beyond just the optics of the whole reforms and all that, we may need to start focusing on actual impact on the livelihood of the person, or the average Nigerian. And if you recall, even in the former life of Mr. Taiwo Uyedele himself, he is an very strong advocate of making tax impactful for the people, and I would have thought that in this reform bill we will have some clauses that will give some maybe KPIs or value for money expectations on the part of the government, because the truth is that the subject of taxation is a social contract. You understand? I'll pay you my tax and then I get this benefit for paying my tax. It's been skewed for so long, in the sense that if you demanding taxes, you understand, then people are no longer, so the incentive to pay tax are no longer there.
It's not there.
You understand, and people rather say, okay, let me fix my stuff myself and ignore taxes. But I could recall during the days of a governor in Lagos State, then Mr. Babajide Rajafashola, when people are saying the things that are happening within the states, everybody was so happy, eager, and everybody wants to just contribute to that process. There's a level of impact that you see that gives you
that encourages you to want to pay your taxes.
To pay your tax. No matter how beautiful, no matter how advanced, no matter how globally aligned to world standard or global standard your tax laws are, if the impact are not felt by the people, then voluntary compliance.
An exercise in futility.
The best tax system is where voluntary compliance is more than forced compliance. Do you understand? Because the cost of forcing people to comply is even also very enormous. You understand? So you want to be in a tax system where voluntary compliance is more than forced compliance.
Well, Emmanuel Onasami is with me in the studio. He's a tax expert, and we're talking about the Tinubu tax agenda and how people are receiving it now that the Governors Forum is backing it with their own caveats here and there. There's the NLC on the one hand saying, take it out, throw it away, put it in the dustbin. And then there's there's ASU also waiting in the wings to say, hey, here are our demands. Will the president be able to catch a break with this whole tax reform agenda? Would like to hear your thoughts and your comments. We're live on Facebook.com/Nigeria Info FM. We're also live on YouTube, Nigeria Info FM. Post your comments on our live stream. We'd like to hear from you on WhatsApp. It's 0809 5975 805. And if you do have questions, please call 0201 277 00993. For the ladies, 0201 465 7190. Someone sent a message here on WhatsApp saying, thanks to your guest, tax reform bills will not favor the middle class, just to get more revenue and make us poorer. This is from Ayo. This is another unbeliever in the process. How do we make more believers of this tax reform agenda?
Oh, okay.
And when I say we, not you, I'm talking about the government of the day.
Definitely. One of the things that makes for inclusive government. When I say inclusive government, is that everybody is part of the government. Every citizen is excited about the government. Is about the tone at the top. The tone at the top has to be very clear, has to be very strong, has to be very, positive, when it comes to tax, And I've seen in the past, the government looking at the private sector to collect taxes. I want to believe that, this time around, there are some people, especially in the political class, you are the people asking people to pay tax, but you are not demonstrating that within that sector, within that segment. And in the past, we've not seen any of our politicians being turned back and say you won't be able to contest because you don't have your tax record up to date. You understand? And it makes the people feel like, okay, is it more like you collecting from us to service your lifestyle? And if that question is just silent in the mind of everybody somewhere. You understand? But rather than that, if the government wants to, get people's buying, it goes beyond just how beautiful the reform bills are. It goes beyond how fancy it's your body language. That speaks volume. What you're doing, how you are ensuring that all politicians from the National Assembly, before the end of the month, you have to do something about your tax. If you register for tax, those kind of movements. It gives the entire population a sense of inclusiveness and say, okay, let's also contribute as and possibly see what we'll get from that. But it looks like a one-sided relationship for now.
Okay, 0201-277-0993. That's the number for you to call. 0201-465-7190 for the ladies. We're still talking tax reforms. You got questions, you got comments. My guest is here to answer. Hello, welcome to Hard Facts.
Hello, good evening, Maryann.
Good evening. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Chike calling from Ababa.
Go ahead, Chike.
Yes, I think if President Tinubu can be able to succeed in this particular tax reform, it will serve as only achievement for him, because for instance, in my own state, we don't have a factory that is producing that at least paying above 40 workers.
Really?
But our governor is buying car for each of car 400 million naira. Not even one car, more than 10 cars. So where do you get the money from? He's waiting for money from federal government, and they will spend it on their own personal, aggrandizement. Wow. The same thing with the North. They call us the Southerners. We are drunkards. That we drink too much. There's nothing that they will not accept anything like that. But the VAT coming from alcoholics, that they are collecting it. The Borno State governor once told us that if the bill is being passed, he will not be able to pay salary. That shows that it's only depending on other states to be able to do anything.
Okay.
So it is a very welcome development if Tinubu will succeed.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chike, for your thoughts. Do you mind to respond to him? I mean, it doesn't necessarily need any response, but I mean,
it's his view. Just to add a thought to it, to say that the intention behind the bill is great. You understand, but when it comes to governance, it goes beyond intentions, and it also has to do with interest. You understand, and then how you are able to sell your intention to the interest to buy into whatever you're doing is what, and that is the difference between a democracy and a military government. A military government will just issue an order and then say,
pay your tax,
and that is what is obtainable going forward.
But that's how it sounded at first. Remember when people dissenting voices started coming up, the presidency just said, whether people like it or not, this bill will be passed. And
but you realize that we are still in a democracy.
Exactly.
So we are still in a democracy,
so
and that
they have to. So and that's what someone here on also Francis Namani from Enugu State, watching us on Facebook Live, says government should sample the opinions of the masses while making policies and take some sensitive decisions.
Okay, basically that was what NLC was actually saying.
Yeah.
That the people that are most important were not considered before coming up with this bill. That is basically the argument of NLC. And they are saying that we draw everything first and let's start afresh. You understand? and starting afresh means that first make good your promise on the wage so that we can be sure that this you also make good.
Do you see, promise. Here we are again, back at the same thing I said. There's a trust deficit. The fact that government in itself cannot keep its word, for people to say, okay, we trust you because you've done this, so we can hold on to this while you do that. So every single person, aside from the governors who have their own ulterior motives, every single person who's kicking against this in one way or the other is saying, well, what, we can't really trust you because you've made so many promises and you've not been able to, make good on any of these promises. Hence, we're going to be apprehensive until you do this, then we can have something to hold on to. And even for ASU, for years and years, governments have come and gone and they'll make promises and they don't keep them. And now you're saying, so how are we going to pay this tax if you've not paid your own,
So what you've raised is a very, strong comment that speaks to, the goodwill you come into government with, you understand, and the perception of the leadership. With the kind of people we have at government, people feel that, they may be pursuing some form of agenda for themselves. And even if this thing is looking good on paper, we need to be careful that, there is no undertone of agenda that is being pursued. Those are baggages that are coming from your perception of whatever you came into the government with. But that is not the end of the game, you understand? If you truly mean well for the people and their guess is not right or their fears are not correct, then you need to do more, you understand, by convincing the people and start making people to see the impact. For example, the issue of subsidy and all that, I think there should have been a lot of transparency around the interplay between NMPC, you understand, for people to understand that, okay, of the truth, this is for the benefits. It doesn't have to take a Mr. Aridele to come to a platform to explain it in that. But the government needs to be doing that level of engagement.
Exactly.
With the people, communicating the transparency across the chain for people to build confidence. Otherwise, you cannot take away the fact that people will have that reservation that we know this person. We know his antecedents from wherever he's coming from. And, hope this is not another tool to achieve another thing, and those questions we always there. It may look sharp and beautiful on paper, interest we always fly around.
Yeah. Someone here says removal of fuel subsidy itself isn't a tax holistic reform that already has deformed the nation? Should they add more? just adding to what you have said. Someone else here says, who really benefits from the reform, the tax reform, the government or the common person? One form of tax or the other, it really makes no sense. This is from Ifeanyi. I'm going to let you answer that.
So there is a body language of every Nigerian that we have suffered enough. Tax should not even be a consideration. But Nigerians also need to understand that beyond oil, taxes are the way governments are run, all over the world. You understand? And
some a bit more extreme than the others. That's why the UK is where it is right now.
Even in some jurisdiction where in the past, they have zero tax regime for so long, they realize that, it may no longer be
necessarily work. Yeah.
You understand? And you see UAE now introducing taxes and all that.
But subtly, not as extreme as the United Kingdom.
They can't afford to be aggressive about it.
Someone here says, let's see. Babajide here from Ibejuleki says, how does Tinubu's government bring down inflation rate from 34% to 15% with this tax reform? I don't understand. I need an explanation, please. I have just 1 minute. Can you explain? I have just 1 minute.
Okay, the dynamics of inflation are a bit different, although tax is a contributor to fiscal policy, you understand? But what impacts your inflation, typically your monetary policy, and you understand, and then your fiscal policy, when it comes to which area of the economy is government putting money, is it agriculture, you understand? But largely what's drives your inflation, is the monetary policy, which is being managed largely by the CBN. You understand? How will tax add to it? The only thing tax can do is from the fiscal policy side, to kind of say, can we make this environment attractive enough from a tax perspective, so that we can encourage more foreign direct investment into the environment. And when you have that balance, maybe you have more dollar supply, and then, the demand on dollar will reduce, and then, inflation begins to come down. But like I said earlier, inflation has not stabilized. I don't think we should be talking about increase in VAT rate.
I have 30 seconds. So before I thank you, I need to read one more message. Someone says, tax reform is a step forward that the Tinubu administration wants to punish Nigeria with. The so-called reform is for them in the APC aspect, share rice and spaghetti all around, as if we're birds. Tell Tinubu that Trump in 3 days has attracted 3 trillion without a trip to any other country outside the US. The government is Nebuchadnezzar-like type of government. It wants everybody to bow down to an image. God forbid bad thing. This is Jeremiah.
More news and information.
I have to say thank you to you. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Mr. Emmanuel Onasami.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We have to go on a break.
Are you thinking of a romantic getaway, a family vacation, a reunion with old friends, your dream wedding, or a corporate retreat?
Ikogosi Warm Springs Resort.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.